Did you not get the CDC's memo? I don't see you guys complying. And I say that jokingly, but I think that may be a sign of potentially seeking to do more things into the future. And I think it's very important that we say unequivocally no to lockdowns, no to school closures, no to restrictions, and no mandates. Floridians are free to choose, and all Americans should be free to choose how they govern their affairs, how they take care of themselves and our families, and they should not be consigned to live, regardless of which state in the union, consigned to live in a Faucian dystopia in which we're governed by the whims of bureaucratic authorities who care little for our freedom, little for our aspirations, and little for our happiness. No more. We can't let it happen going forward. And I think it's important to learn some of the lessons of what we saw over the past year and a half. There's a number of things I think we can look back on and point to different things that were just total catastrophes. I think a lot of these interventions, almost all of them, were totally ineffective. But they had catastrophic consequences for tens of millions of Americans. And to me, probably the most significant policy failure were the states that kept schools closed last school year. You had a situation where when the virus first hit, traditionally, when you talk about disease mitigation, people would look at schools as a place where it would really foster a lot of spread throughout the communities. And that's certainly true with influenza. So there was a lot of precautionary things done initially, distance learning, all this. But as the data started coming in, it was very clear by May of 2020 that not only were our school kids at virtually no risk from coronavirus, they were not efficient spreaders of it. And so schools, places that had schools open, did not see major outbreaks. And so my view was we have got to have every parent in Florida, they have a right to send their kids to school in person, and we've got to make that happen. And so we had to do this last summer, and that was at the height of, the Sun Belt has a summer COVID season, as we're seeing now. This was something that we were dealing with in Florida, and the hysteria was off the charts. You had people saying all this stuff. You can't send the kids to school. The teachers union actually sued me to keep the schools closed. And what they would do is they would actually bring coffins and put them in front of our Florida Department of Education building. So it was really, the data was very clear that this is something that should have happened. And obviously from a policy perspective, kids need to be in school. Parents need to have an ability, particularly our single mothers. So it was evidence and facts and what was good policy and good for Floridians on one side versus basically hysteria, corporate media narrative, and a bunch of fear-mongering. And it was blindingly obvious that was something we needed to do. So we did it. I remember when we first, some of our first school districts, when they first started the middle of August, you had like these national corporate media come down there, go, oh my gosh, these yokels, what are they doing to the kids and all this other stuff. Fact is, it was good. People are very happy that happened. But just think about the millions of kids who got locked out of school for over a year in certain jurisdictions. So it seems to be like if you have certain God-given rights in the United States, but I guess the right to better yourself through education, if you happen to live in a real deep blue enclave controlled by the teachers union, that's just not something that you have opportunities to do. And we saw that. And I think those lockdowns of the kids and the closures for a year and a half, I think those are going to have consequences, not just months, years, but I think decades from now, you'll be able to trace back problems that emanated because kids totally fell off the radar and fell off the map. And so all it took was leadership. All it took was an ability to kind of go into the fray and fight back on behalf of students and families in Florida. And it was obviously the right thing to do.